whatever.
All right, everybody ready? We will call to order. We will start with roll call.
Chairman Williams,
Here.
Member Perkins, Member Armstrong,
Here.
Member Patterson. Here. Councilmember Noel. You do have a quorum, Mr. Chairman, 3 members present, 2 absent.
Barely made it in. We will move on to approval of the agenda. We will entertain a motion to approve the agenda unless there's any changes or anything.
No changes to it, sir.
Make a motion.
Got a motion? And a second? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to constituents' comments. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the minutes. Thank you. Reading is hard today. Approval of the minutes from the September 18th meeting. So we will entertain a motion to approve them.
Make a motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we'll move on to constituents' comments.
We do not have any, and I know what's on it.
All right. Old business, there is none. Now on to new business. We will turn it over.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Wait for the
Excuse me.
board here. I have to really focus and not turn around and look at things because I turn away from the mic. All right. Let's see. So this application, it's a request for a variance of frontage, the required frontage of 75 feet, which is for the R3 zone district. The applicant is requesting a reduction of 25 feet to 50 feet. And this project is on Coney Island Drive. And you can see from the slides, it is right next to the river. Part of it is in the county. It was a 2.29 acres and 3-point-some acres is in the city. The future land use map has 3 classifications for, so there's competing, but 2 out of the 3, this type of use, a duplex development, is what the applicant is requesting for, is 3 of them. So it would be a total of 6 dwelling units. But as I go through my slide, you'll see that it may be 4. This is just the request to consider the actual 50-foot front access, which is in the northeast side arrow. So it's a little bit of the history. It has a long one. Back in 2021, there was an attempt to annex a portion, the county portion, into the city, which was by the Planning Commission. It was indefinitely deferred. It never came back from there. There were a number of plats that are associated with it, which is called the D&D subdivision. And so this is what, this slide actually shows the hatched area, which is the extent of the flood. Where the red arrows are pointing is the 3 duplex development. In the upper right-hand side, northeast side, is where the access is off of Coney Island Drive. And this is all where you see the actual diagonal hatches, that is the flood area, or flood, let's see, there's floodplain, flood. Oh my gosh, I had a brain.
That would be the 100-year floodplain.
Yes, yes. So this whole area is impacted by flooding. Let me just skip over to just a criteria for the Board of Zoning Appeals and staff finding. It doesn't meet 3 of the 10 criteria, and I will go through them and summarize a little bit later here. 2 of the 10 are not applicable, and 5 out of the 10 are met. Staff does not support this project, and it's predominantly through safety, and I will show you that in the upcoming slides. So that's the biggest concern, is from the fire department regarding to safety. It is scheduled for the October 23rd Planning Commission meeting, which is next Thursday, for the preliminary plat for this project. But if it fails here, then at the planning commission, it is unlikely to advance forward. They might, if it does succeed here, then it'll advance forward in the planning commission and they will hear the other aspects of it. So the basis of the request, there was just no feasible way to develop that area. If I go back to, there's just no way to access behind this area except for through this portion here. And as you'll see when I go through the history, there was an earlier edition of the annexation that created a right-of-way that would go through here, and that's why that is 50 foot. 50 foot is the width of a right-of-way. However, during the different phases of it, when there were these subdivided areas, what ended up happening, it was overlooked. It was overlooked, and technically you are required to have 75-foot frontage for if you're going to use this type of access back here. If it's not a public right of way, then it has to be 75 foot. And through the different iteration, it was overlooked. So now what you have is that on the right-hand side, this east side of that last lot by the access, that lot line pushes in on that little access, and then it is a different ownership on the other sides, and they are unwilling to provide any more land to have more access. So that's why the applicant is here to make this request. Let's
The
see.
time in summary, it's for 2 lots. It's access for 2 lots or 3 lots? How many?
It originally came in at 3 lot, but then during the last discussions for it, most likely it's going to have to be 2 lots because the issue, and I can go back to, this is the preliminary plat that is up for review. The issue that just came up earlier this week at pre-planning when we were discussing it has to do with, I guess I should shine it on this one, is that there is no turnaround for any emergency vehicles. So in our subdivision regulation, there's a requirement to have a cul-de-sac for any turnaround space. So any dead end space, you have to have a cul-de-sac. So most likely, one of these lots would be wouldn't be able to build on it. And that's how we're coming down to 2 duplex developments. And so the one on the top left-hand corner is the original submittal back in 2021. And you could see this right-of-way that comes through and makes a U onto Coney Island. There were substantially more houses in this area, and I don't know if they look like they're single-family development in this area at that time. But it's gone through several different iterations. There's the one plat that was recorded that created these lots that are now on Coney Island. As you can see, this one, it was not on. Doesn't look like, actually, it looks like there was some fronting on there. And then in this one's, I think, the 2023 or 2024, this is where that access is, and you can see it a little bit clearer without the Vexel turned on. That's that same 50-foot access to the back. And so now we're up to the current version of it. Those 3 lots that were platted in 2023 are those ones there. Here's that 50-foot coming into the back. Our subdivision regulations does allow a private road or an access acting as a private road. They would have to meet certain technical standards for it if it's done this way. The major concern is one of evacuation during any type of emergency event. And this was communicated, I guess this was on Monday when we had our pre-planning meeting. We also had an additional follow-up meeting with the applicant and the owner. But the biggest issue is that if there is a flood event, then the evacuation would have to be through or through another property towards this area. And if you don't have, if they're non-ambulatory, then it would make it even more challenging. So, when we have these residents on this side, and Coney Island can serve as a way to evacuate, but those ones in the back they're still a concern. Most of the comments, there were a number of technical comments that could be addressed. This was the one that was not addressed, and it's still a concern of the fire department. And that's why staff, I say staff as collectively, does not support this, and it's due to safety.
Go back a couple slides, please.
Yes.
Keep going. Okay, show me right there where the 75-foot requirement is that's only 50 feet.
Tom, would you turn around and please do that, so.
It is right here. This is that 50-foot that would access back here. So it would be an easement that would be serving as
So it's easement for a road, service road, private road, whatever.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, and anytime you have this type of condition, it would have to have 75 foot as their frontage. And the owner, the applicant, they realized that they created this condition. There was an opportunity to be able to make it 75 feet if this lot were not platted. So, and if you look through the 10 standards, that's one of the questions. Is this a self-created?
Is there a house on that last lot?
Yes, there is.
So,
Yes, there's houses all along that route.
I drove down there for the first time in a long time, not too long ago. It's like, it just
Yes.
popped up. But,
Yes. Steve is going to let me photograph, because I think the duplex, the architectural is, I think it's pretty nice. So he's going to let me photograph that part at least. But these are just some of the bulk regulations that are related to the R3. And then within the package, and then up here is also the responses to the 10 standards. So there's some of them that are met. The first one, topographical. Let's see. Oh, well, actually, that one does meet it. Sorry. That one does meet the standards. Number 2 is met. Number 3, this is a similar condition that we had with somebody else making a request about modifying the R3 bulk standards, where once the board approves one, you might have the condition where it's going to happen in other locations of the same. But I would say that this is a very unique situation. There's not too many places that probably have that same type of condition. Financial returns is not applicable because it's not considered. And then when you look under the number 5 is not met, that's where it's self-created. And then when we get down to, let's see, here's number 8. This is the critical one. Number 8 has to do with safety. And that is the one that the fire department has been opposed to, is that granting this relief for them creates that unsafe condition. So I guess in summary, staff doesn't support this, and hopefully I did a good job of putting it together for decision making today. So, and then I didn't know, Jim, you wanted to say anything?
Not a lot. Jim Patterson, St. John Engineering. Tom did a great job, really, of explaining the history and explaining the issues here. You know, my client, they do understand that they created this condition. They were working with Tom's predecessor at the time when this 50-foot right-of-way was created, you know, and that kind of fell through for various reasons. So they're now, you know, wanting to get 2 to 3 more units in here, and as Tom said, it likely would turn into 2 versus the 3 that are included in this at best. You know, the concern of the fire department is really not something that can be overcome as far as being able to get a vehicle, and just so you understand, what they're talking about is if there was a medical emergency in one of these units during the 100-year flood, it's not that these units are flooded or that they're surrounded by water. It's a matter of getting a vehicle right to the unit, and
Yeah, I can go back to that.
yeah, and that would not be possible. If you happen to have a medical emergency in one of those units during the 100-year flood, they would have to be taken out through the private property as the blue arrow shows. They would have to be taken out to Coney Island Road, but that area would not be flooded. Those units would certainly be accessible, by foot, by some other means. You just would not be able to drive down the driveway to the front door of the unit. But so that's really all I have to add. My clients have got a couple of other ways of trying to create lots that conform. This is probably cleaner than those even, so that's why they wanted to go ahead and try to get this approved, and we appreciate your consideration.
Jim, could you explain what those other options are? And if they do not get this variance, what are their plans?
Well, I don't know what their plans are. They don't really want to go these routes that, that they've approached me with, but one way would be to provide a 75-foot strip to give frontage to the highway, and take it all the way around to the highway to provide frontage from that roadway.
That route, okay.
Another would be, they still own the 3 units of phase 2, would be to add this 50-foot strip to that first unit, and then provide an easement through that unit to 2 parcels. Again.
Can you point to the first, is it the one on the end?
Yeah.
Just don't look at it.
So, yes, it would be this parcel here.
So basically give them that 50 foot and then ask for a 75-foot easement. Kind of.
Yes, and I don't believe that the easement would even have to be 75 foot. It's just a matter of that lot having 75 foot of frontage. So it would give enough easement for the driveway, to get back to the units. That still does not address this issue of the fire department, in all honesty. But, so they may or may not come back to the planning process, with one of those. I don't know. But, there's still going to be some hurdles to be overcome even with those, in all honesty. But thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Tim.
You dream about this one. I have a problem with dreaming about problems.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to either grant the variance or deny the variance based off of staffing recommendation. And if we are granting the variance, we need to articulate why we feel that it is appropriate to grant a variance, given that it doesn't meet all the criteria. Entertain a motion either
I'd
way.
like to make a motion. I do concur with the staff's findings, and I'd like to make a motion that we deny the variance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote. So if you say yes, you agree to denying the variance?
Yes. Chairman Williams,
Yes.
Member Armstrong,
Yes.
and Member Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I kind of forgot where I was here. Sorry.
That was pretty easy.
Uh,
That would have been, it had gone on a long time.
That's the other.
Yes, that one's, there's been actually, even before we got here, there were multiple iterations that I've seen on that project.
So we don't have a representative for the second one here, do we?
No,
Did they say they were coming or not coming or?
no, Michael Sutherland was the, with Outdoor, Scotty Outdoor. And, he's one that filed the application for this. So this is 716 North Main Street. It is zone C2. They are requesting relief, it feels like deja vu, relief of the 600-foot separation distance between billboard signage for their application. So there was an application that came in and we denied it because of this, and they're in essence appealing this, not the decision, but they are appealing for the 600-foot distance here. Nguyen Vuan and Jiao T. Gua Lam, I think they're Vietnamese, are the property owners, and I think they purchased property I think it was this year actually. Michael Sutherland is with Scotty's Outdoor. He does a substantial amount of billboard signage. And this property is, it's actually a conforming property. It meets all the bulk regulations for C2 zoning district. Even though it's a single family house that was converted into a commercial.
That's the white building right behind, I think, two lots over from KFC.
Yes.
Yes. And
It's a multi-level, is it?
it's 2 stories, yes. And you'll see I've got photographs of the exterior as well. The sign code it's in the municipal code, and just like last month we heard that it's in the municipal code, and it doesn't provide for anything other than you see right there, that the relief of strict application of specific requirements may be resolved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. However, I use the 10 standards as a basis for it because it just helps to frame the decision making and take a look at it cohesively. So I use this as a framework, and in the review, 2 out of the 10 standards, let's see, this application met 2 of the 10 standards, and then 2 were not applicable. And then 6 of the standards were not met. So I'll go through each of them. If you concur with our findings, we are recommending denying this application. The applicant is requesting a 60% reduction, so it would be 400 feet is being reduced. It would be, now I was eyeballing it, I would say that's probably 200 feet or less.
So Tom, basically just kind of go back in, we have a 600-foot rule in the city.
Yes.
And so they want to put a sign around 200 feet from another sign.
That's correct.
Okay, and so they're just making that request based on?
They have 3 claims for this. So the first one is that we have other examples. We, as part of the last month, we did a survey both on North Main Street and Madison Street. We found 2 on North Main Street that were below the 600 feet. One was, I'll have to go there because I can't remember if it was like 546 feet. That's what it is. So it's 546 feet was one of them. The other one was 120 feet. So that was substantially less. And then this board last month approved a one that was 300 feet. And that particular one, it met a lot of the 10 standards. One of them is that it basically is an unbuildable lot. So the only thing that really it is good for is probably a sign. because it is right over the flume. You weren't here that time, so, but it was over the flume. And that was the reason why this board supported that variance request. I have that in here as well. So,
On the two that are less than 600 feet, do you have timeframes on that? Is that
yes.
correct?
So between 2017 and 2022, that was when those two were, is that right? 2017 to 2022.
Did
And
they get sign permits?
those ones, yes, they did receive sign permits and they were signed off on. And the only thing I can think of that might have happened, and I'm just making an educated guess here, is that when the interpretation was being made, because TDOT, let me just go to TDOT standards here, because okay, so there's both of them has the 600-foot rule, that separation. TDOT's has 600 foot on the same side of the road. It doesn't have any conditions about locating all around. It's just on the same side of the road. The R's specifically states that it has to be 600 feet from any billboard. So it doesn't condition it whether it's across the road or on the same side of the road. And the only thing I can think of is that during when that approval was being made, that was not, it was done in error. So that's the only thing I can.
Which records at all, or did you look at any of those records with those permits?
I didn't.
Any evidence about that?
No, I didn't go that far into that. I just looked at it from actually from when we did our survey, looking at each one of those. So and I will say that before I don't remember when do you know when we started doing the sign enforcement? It was only a few months ago.
I'm sorry.
So the sign permits were actually reviewed by building probably maybe 3 or 4 months ago. It is written that way in the municipal code. Right now, the way that we're handling it is because we're trying to transition over to planning reviewing it, is that building still signs off on it. They review our analysis and either concur or reject it. And so when we started taking it over is when we started going through the actual sign regulations for it. And let's see, let me go back to the images. This was the applicant's application to TDOT, which is also, so I guess the workflow, the way it goes through is it goes to TDOT first and then it comes down to us. TDOT reviewed this and they signed off on it as conforming to their regulations. And this is the approximate location of it. I had to eyeball it because I don't know where this right-of-way line might be. I kind of scaled it, just visually I scaled it. So just, I just conservatively located there, which is about 200 feet from across the street of the other signage. And so you can see this sign here was put in September 2025. And this application is right here. And this is the building that were the subject property. And you can see I laid it out. There's that new sign from September. That's the location that they want to put the new billboard signage.
And that September sign is in compliance?
Yes, because there's nothing around it. So, and I wanted to just go through because we're taking this over, but this is actually how we review all our codes. It's basically there's only 3. If it's not in there, we just we don't apply it. But typically, if the code is explicit, we do strictly apply it. That's just personally, like I try not to do a lot of interpretation unless there's a clear connection with it, which is the second one. Second one usually deals with maybe it has to do with um, like and I'm just giving a really simple example, like street personnel. They can do things if if they're doing work in an area. They don't need any type of it's fine. And I'm not saying that the government has to do those things, but I'm just giving an example of kind of a comparison. So I didn't know if the applicant was going to be here, but I wanted to at least give you some background on the regulation of billboards. So this is not a new thing, and you can see from all the court cases that are placed in there, there's a lot of cases related to signage. And I think Jamie said that there was a lot of controversy with signage. There's always a lot of controversy with signage.
It's a hot
Yes.
subject in law, it very much is.
Yeah, so this is TDOT's, their appendix that is related to any type of signage that is on a property. It's hard to see, but they have 600 feet from a right of way. They don't have 600 feet from any billboard signage. It's just from the edge of the right of way on the side. And then you see along here that there's no indication of anything across the street. And then in ours, no closer than 600 feet from any billboard. So it's very specific. It's not like I need to interpret it really, make any guesses on that.
Thomas, quick question though. I think maybe I wouldn't pay attention close enough, but the sign across the street is 200 feet.
Yes.
Okay, but not the one on that horizontal, well, the vertical plane more or less. So there's nothing, the 200 feet we're talking about is strictly across the street, right?
That's correct. So you can see from this image that it is.
So that's the only.
In other words, if that September 25 billboard was not there, they would be in compliance.
Yes.
They are not,
Yeah.
they don't have a problem up and down that plane. It's just across the street.
That would seem to.
And that's our law. That's just our local law. We are written with stricter guidelines than TDOT on that.
Yes. And it makes sense too, because you figure that signs can be a visual pollution. They can be a visual distraction, and to have a lot of them. TDOT's regulations, I suspect, are related to because you're putting it on larger tracks of larger roads.
Big highways, yeah.
Yeah, and not necessarily down in a small area. And that's why when we go through our exercise next year of revising the sign code, we're going to tailor it to what is the character of the area that it is placed in. And because right now our sign code is generic and it just says C2 or commercial, you can have this much signage and then you have like the gigantic McDonald's sign. So I don't want to harp on McDonald's or anything like that, but their sign is ginormous.
But if they secure the area and the sign goes up, what guides if they decide to expand that sign larger, up, down, change the lighting? Is there any guidelines relative to that? Re-inspections?
You mean to expand it or?
Yeah.
Once they have TDOT's approval, that is a sign that they have. There is no.
Those dimensions.
Yeah, there is no expanding it or anything else. And I'm sure if you violate any of the TDOT regulations, they might come down pretty hard on that person. So,
Okay.
And let's see, let me just skip forward a little bit. So these are the other ones, and the applicant provided some within his package, but they're very similar. I think they were all of these are from his. I might have missed one of it, but I don't think I did. So this is on 1401 and then 1310. You can see this is a 165-foot separation. That is the lowest one, and that's probably the only one that is really substantially just like it should have never happened that way. Because the next one is 546.5 feet. separation. That's the closest there. So you're looking at not as much as 200 or 60% or anything like that.
But when you count the one that was approved last week, or
Yes,
last month, it's actually in violation two different ways. It's 359 feet from the one on Madison Street and 241, no, wait. The size located reduces the distance by approximately 359 feet to the nearest billboard located at 300
yes.
Madison Street and 241 feet to approximately 60%, plus or minus 60% variance. So last month, we created a third.
Yes, and so the third one is this one, which is 241-foot separation between the nearest one from 300 Madison Street. There was one already located on at 300 Madison Street, and then that 208 is where this board approved that one. Now, if I go to the standards, and that was the basis that we used last month, and this, and in this application, is that on that particular parcel at, the one last month, there were conditions in the first one, particular physical surrounding, shape, or topographical conditions. That one had a flume below, the building. And so the owner is going to demolish that flume, or demolish that building.
Nobody's touching it.
Yeah, sorry. Demolishing the buildings, in order to, create an unbuildable area. The other one, 208, also had to do with, the safety part, number 8, because that building is, actually, the foundation is in the flume. As it was presented and as the board concurred, is that we're actually we're improving the safety. But because he did not have any other options for the use of his property, that signage would be the only use of the property. And that's where this one differs, is that they have their building there, and they actually have a couple of other things that you'll see at the end, where they put in illegal signs. They got signage without a permit. They also put in a food truck they changed the use of the property without a permit, so.
There's nothing unusual about this property. Unlike last month's application.
That is
it's
correct.
Clearly taking that building down, securing the structural foundation stability of the flume and all of that, left them pretty much without a buildable lot. And
Yes.
so that was, I think, pretty much the basis of the
And that was
DA's decision.
yes, and that was the biggest distinction, is that they can still use this lot in a lot of different manners. And that particular one on 208, they really didn't, they can't even park over top of it. So it's going to be converted to some type of open space with that signage on there. That was the biggest reason, was for them, there were no other types of options for that. And in this case, the regulations or the provisions that regulate the signage spacing, they're the minimum standards, and it's being self-created in this case because they still have that other option. In the previous case at 208, the flume was there since the 60s, early 60s, I think, and so it was a potential no, because of the condition. I can't remember how far out of service life that flume is, but it's potential hazard for collapse. So we won't say that, knock on wood.
We take very good care of that flume.
Yes. So in reviewing it based on these standards, you can see that on the first one, it is the signage regulations. Well, let me backtrack a little bit, because one of their comments about one of their claims for allowing this had to do with the changing of the neighborhood. And, but they're talking about signage and not necessarily land use. So I think they're intermixing two different things, and I don't necessarily agree with just because you have more signs doesn't mean that it's a change in the neighborhood. That was one of their comments for that. And you see that, let's see, if the board agrees, then there's no point in having the regulation for spacing, because they could basically anybody could come to the board to ask for a variance, and the purpose of a variance is not, it's for hardship conditions. So
It has to be something unusual for a variance.
exactly. It really has to be within, exactly, that's why that first one there is number one. There has to be something very unique about that property that would, you would ask for a variance from it. And then in the other ones, usually number 5 or number 4, that's not applicable, and 10 is not applicable.
Tom, did you say they gave 3 reasons?
Yes.
What was the third one?
The third one had to do with financials. That it was beneficial to have it. It's very visible for advertising.
Beneficial location.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So and so I didn't even, because it's not applicable to our review. I always try to put in everything in here and reports about the future land use map and whether it conforms. What they're asking for is consistent with the zoning, so it does conform to the zoning ordinance, what they're asking. And then during my study, I didn't realize I'm looking at the same building.
Is that my truck or my car?
I don't know. But they basically put in a sign without a permit. And then they have a secondary use that they come for site plan to review. So there's other things on there. I didn't realize it.
Last night. It's Japanese.
Yes, it's key.
And you go out to, I think are they the same folks that are out on, further out?
I think so.
I think it's the same name.
I think.
They sell ramen out at the other place.
Oh, that's
Talk about Madison Street.
Yes, across from Lowe's, yeah.
That's what we did.
My daughter's very excited.
Go way off topic here.
Sorry.
Now you make me
Derailed the
hungry.
meeting. I was like, you may have taken my car's picture.
I mean, it would be nice if they just fitted the building and made it a nice large restaurant.
I don't know.
What is the building in use?
It's empty, I believe.
Yeah, I don't believe I believe that they were wanting to do the restaurant part on the inside of it. But to do that, they would need to go through that site plan process.
Any questions?
So from the staff position, is that, again, the 600 is the standard? And they
Yes.
don't beat that?
Yes, I think it's very explicit within the code that 600 feet, and we shouldn't deviate from it unless there is some kind of really unusual condition.
I was gonna say, I think that is the key though, because we said last month, 600 feet is the standard, but it is okay to deviate as long as there are special circumstances and special
absolutely.
conditions with property. So that's key to put into the motion, I think.
Sure, but it doesn't meet the standards.
It does not meet the standards, and there are no special circumstances
Yes,
to
and
honor to grant the variance request.
yes, and the regulations are.
Conditions.
Yeah, regulations is not an unusual condition. You can say property line is an unusual condition, like what we saw in the last application.
I think what Lisa just read, hardship being a key, that is always truly when you're looking at a variance that comes through primarily. This, of course, is a little bit different because it's the sign code, but when you're thinking about a variance on what you just did previously, you're looking to see is if basically the natural lay of the land somehow has created an unusual situation that places a hardship upon that owner to meet our regular standards. So.
Yes, an example
Is
is,
there a hardship?
yeah, example is the one that we looked at for Joey Simmons, that property where it was a 40-foot frontage, but it historically had been did not meet the the frontage requirement. I mean, that property goes back to the early 1900s.
And I may say that these property owners do have, I mean, as any citizen does, I mean, they can go ask the city council to say, take a look at your sign code, and we feel like you should be in line with TDOT regulations instead of being more strict. They do have that option. I'm not saying that's likely to happen or not likely to happen, but they do have that option.
So we will entertain a motion to either grant the variance or deny the variance based off of the wording that Lisa said.
There is not an unusual condition to this that could be considered a hardship.
In the staff report, I have my, I have language in there too, for a motion, so.
Sure. I
Any other,
would say that you adopt, if you wish to deny the motion, you are adopting the findings as laid out by staff in its report.
any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
We're ready to entertain a motion.
I'll entertain the motion to deny for those reasons.
Okay. Second? Got a second? Roll call vote? So yes is denial.
Again,
Chairman Williams,
Yes.
Member Armstrong.
Yes.
Member Patterson.
Yeah.
It's denied.
Okay.
All right, last one's easy. This is actually the easiest schedule.
I make a motion, we accept.
you guys don't even talk about it. Does it look good to you?
Yeah.
No
I read it.
problems?
I rated it all.
Because we'll be a little bit different in,
Yeah.
what, December,
Yeah.
Yes.
November, December?
Yeah.
I look to make sure there were no holidays in.
Well, and the other thing, last time I put it, I had a conflict on there too, you know?
Yeah,
It's like it was on the planning commission day. I was like, oh.
you did good.
Hey, can't have a May meeting though, because that's my wife's birthday.
That's right.
I'm ready to, well, you know, we have another potential
Are
application
you
coming.
kidding me?
I know. You know, that would have been, we've been doing this for a whole year.
Yes, we have.
But that one should be fairly straightforward too. It's a parking reduction for this, and it definitely is warranted. And I've already reviewed their requests.
So next month,
Yeah, if they get their application in, if they don't, then.
So we will entertain a motion to accept the appeals submittal and review calendar.
Make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Other business? None?
No other business.
We're adjourned.
We start planning the Christmas party, right? Before you know.
I'm sorry.
I said we should start planning a Christmas